But we'll figure it out. Everything will be fine.
It sounds good. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is the very, very rare, but not so much anymore, coffee chat video where I get a chance to say hello to you and to just talk about stuff without having a script. Clearly, I'm Ian.
Hi. Oh, I'm Lani. I am
Uh,
Ian's wife. I am the new producer at Passion of the Nerd. You okay?
yeah, I was just gonna say I'm more comfortable with I'm your husband.
Yeah, you know what? We could get into a whole thing about personal identity, but I
Yeah.
don't think we have that kind of time. But anyway, so we are doing the coffee video today to talk about all the stuff that we've got going on, to talk about why you've been seeing videos a little more often in your feed. And it's because we just basically are restructuring the channel to include things like deadlines and a producer breathing down your neck, which is me.
Yes.
That's my role. It's been super fun.
We've been married for 2.5 years, and at
Mhm.
some point, we had the conversation where I said, "Oh, I'm good at these things and really terrible at those things." Hey, wait a second. You're really good at those things. And so we put our hands together, and things have been going better. And I hope that you have been enjoying seeing more content show up on the channel. But it's also a really weird time to start doing things. We're learning how long things actually take. In all the years of doing this on my own, by myself, by my lonesome, I can tell you how long a video takes with all this hemming and hawing and anxiety and self-hatred and all of that. And then I just write the video. But I don't know how long it takes to actually just write and record and edit a video. We're learning that as we go. Couple that with the problem of uh, having begun this process
On Way
with,
to the World, The Gift, and Pylea, which is four, right? It's four episodes,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
Pylea is covering 4 episodes in one single video. So,
Mhm.
I think things are obviously better than they have been going, but I wouldn't call them normal. And
Yeah, we haven't gotten to like a regular kind of space where the work that we're doing, where we can look at the work and be like, okay, from this, we can estimate this is what this actually takes. I came in, I wrote up a calendar, I put in deadlines and basically said, if you don't get it done, I will do it.
yeah, which is terrifying. Which I'm
Which is
like,
terrifying.
I don't want you to do it. And that alone has been
It's all the motivation. All I have to do is sit here and exist. And that is
right.
all the motivation that
Right.
you need. I did have a lot of fun. I was able to come in. Jack was not well, not available over the break. And so around the holidays. So I came in and was able to edit Way to the World and The Gift and had so much fun doing those edits. And we had such a good time working together. And it's funny that it took, because we've been together for 5 years, married for 2.5, that it took all of this time for us to really realize how good we work together and how
Yeah.
that could translate into the business. And of course, like anybody who knows me, if you do know me, it's probably because of the Buffy podcast and the Angel podcast that I did, Still Pretty and Still Dead. And I've kind of been in this Buffy world for a while. I'm a huge fan, of course, of Ian's. So it's been really fun to kind of like get back into that space, to be working with Buffy material, to be working with you, and of course with Jack, who is our regular editor and will be back at the helm for the upcoming videos. So yeah, it's been so much fun. I've had such a good time, and it's actually gone a million times better than I ever thought it would.
Yeah, I mean the funny part is whenever we watch something together, we're probably insufferable to other people
Oh yeah,
because
it's basically
we
podcast mode.
just
We
we
just go
just
into
talk
podcast
and
mode.
talk and talk about the thing that we just watched.
Hmm.
This is sort of us using that power for good.
Yeah.
Uh which has been really great. Uh, so we should get into some comments. The way this works is I made a post for patrons and for YouTube members saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing where I sit and have a conversation and just talk about whatever you want." Of
Hmm.
course, there's one major thing that people have been asking for how I feel about it in the comments for the past month. I'm sure you know what that is. I'm sure it's in the title of the video. We'll get into that in a minute, but there's some other stuff we're going to touch on before we do.
Yes. The first comment comes from YouTube member Jacques Cremme. Jacques Cremme, I think it might be French. I think it might be French. Uh,
Crammy?
it was, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite blue-eyed, ginger-haired, bearded Australian?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. I would have to say David Wenham and Isla Fisher.
Mhm, sure.
Um, though I don't think Isla can really pull off the beard.
Oh, I think she doesn't have one, but I think she could pull it off. I think she could definitely pull it off. All right, so next we have CTE Girl 892 on Patreon asks, can you share a bit about the process of making the gift video guide and how it might have been different from the process for other video guides?
Well, I mean, I answered this question in kind of a roundabout way. Yes, it's different because it's one of the most important episodes of the show.
Hmm.
Uh, it's kind of one of those episodes that, for me, elevated it permanently into that space of this is always going to be one of my favorites. For me, there's a ton of pressure uh, to write something that I'm happy with, which even weeks after we published, I was still saying I don't really like the script. There's bits that I would have liked to have done better. I'm making peace with it. But the three most difficult scripts to write were The Body, Restless, and The Gift. Uh, and in that order, I would say. The Body, I wanted the structure of the episode to kind of um, mirror the experience of watching the episode, but without repeating it. And there's always a question too, like that's one of the most written about episodes of television. So I'm always asking myself the question, well, what do I bring to this conversation? And the only answer to that is always my own perspective. If you look for objective, factual academic, I'm not an academic. So to sort of tie that together, I knew that I wanted to sort of examine my own experiences with death. And the one thing that I thought I could bring to it that was maybe unique was the idea of how your relationship to death evolves over time. And the thing of that is that's not very fun. That is, it was an agonizing,
It was tough. Yeah.
uh, painful script to write. Lani numerous times, and I read it. Lani always, I always read my scripts to you.
Hmm.
That one I read to you in pieces because the script was written in pieces, and hey, okay, can I read you a little bit? You know, um, I also write in VR. I find that VR is isolating and helps me focus the ADD into just what I'm writing on screen. So I'm like wearing this VR headset. I'm like crying as I'm talking about Jim into the headset. So yeah, not a lot of fun to write. In contrast to that, there was Restless. Restless, I hadn't quite seen someone go scene to scene to scene to scene, um, examining what everything might mean, having a conclusion about all the various bits and bobs. I think Mark does that in his book. I'm sure just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm sure that that existed out there, but that was kind of my ambition with that. And it was very tedious. Um, Pausing. Oh, what is the poem on? Tara's back. Where is that from? Oh, it's Sappho's poem. Oh, okay. Yada yada yada. And then to try and take all of that and to draw some conclusions to it that again were like emotionally resonant to me, which is the only response I have any control over. And I'm still not happy with the end of that script, which is a repeating theme for a lot of these. And then the gift was both of those experiences.
Hmm.
The gift is emotionally heavy and technically complex. The episode's about, it's like I wrote in the video. If the first season is about fear of death, the gift is about despair over life and how do we personally deal with it. And the only way that I can find anything that I consider an authentic answer to that is by examining my own life and the state of the world around me presently and saying, well, how do I manage that? How do I use the lens of the show, and sort of mirror it back and forth? And it's a season finale. So, and season 5 took 5 years to write, which is bananas. I mean, look at the 5 years. However, that's really neither here nor there. So I rewatched the entire episode guide. I made notes about every single episode because, as a non-spoiler guide or video series, this is it. This is the one that's supposed to tie all of those developing themes together, and I didn't want to leave anything on the table and all of that. And then there's still stuff that I forgot to say in the video. The music. How on earth did I not mention the music? That is
Yeah.
one of the most iconic You hear three or four notes of that piano theme, and it instantly transforms you to this space of melancholy and being moved and all of that. That's such a profound experience. And I forgot to mention it in the video, and
Well, I
that's
mean, there's a lot of stuff in that video. It's a 25
yeah,
minute video. That's a lot to discuss in that space. And some things sometimes you're just not going to get to it. But the stuff that you did get to, I think, and again, like there's a lot of analysis and, academic, discussions. Like my podcast was always, I think, a little more academic. What you do on this channel is, and I've said this to you privately a number of times, but you like reach down inside of yourself and grab a hold of your soul and then pull it out through and put it in that space. And I feel like that is definitely like a transformative piece. And so I don't see what you do as much of a, like an analytical kind of work so much as you are really connecting with the reason why we all come back to Buffy over and over and
yeah. Well,
over again. Yeah.
that's always the ambition is to celebrate why I feel like this matters.
Mhm.
And the one thing I want to say is that yeah, yes, I forgot to do the music, but if there's one trend among all three of these, that is not this new schedule. That is not the new thing that we're trying to do. Because, yeah, I already said with Restless, I'm still not satisfied with the end of that script. And there are months later, I said to Lani, "Oh my God, there's a clip I forgot to put in the body," and it kills me. It's going to be in the super edit, so I'm not going to say what it is
Yes.
here.
Hmm.
But there was something I meant to put into that video that I forgot, and both of those videos I took months to hem and haw over. So that's not the schedule. You could lie to yourself and say that it is, but what that is just content creation.
It's the
That's
nature of the
it's just
beast. You've
making
got
stuff.
to, if you wait until you've got everything in there, like if you think people are complaining about how long it takes now, like if you wait
Right.
until it's perfect, it'll never go up and it'll never be out there. And I think that all of these pieces of work that you've done, have been so interesting, and you've always, like, even if maybe you forgot a detail that you wanted to put in there but then just didn't get to, the way that you are able to kind of bring all of this, like at the end of the weight of the world with the loop discussion, which I absolutely loved. I think the most important thing that you set out to do in these videos, you always accomplish.
Well, and something has just occurred to me that I think is really funny. You know what video was not very hard to write? Into the Woods.
Oh my God, I love Into the Woods so much. It's like my favorite one.
But I mean, if that isn't telling about something I've always tried to say, which is like anyone can do a takedown,
Hmm.
like uh figuring out why something doesn't work is way easier than celebrating why it did.
Yeah.
And that's always the thing. Well, like the thing I was thinking about with the body is I don't just want to repeat what this episode does. To celebrate why it matters means to sort of reach
Hmm.
deeper, to create something on top of or beyond, for better or for worse, to whatever degree of success that I managed with that video. But I think it's really interesting that when I think about Into the Woods is 45 minutes long. I think it's the longest video on the channel,
Hmm.
including the super edit, uh,
The
which is
Super Edit
all of,
season 1,
I
right?
think this is all of season one. I may be wrong about that.
No,
Actually, I think
all of season 1, I think, is a few minutes longer than Into the
then
Woods.
Into the Woods. That
But
video
yeah.
was a huge undertaking, but it was so easy compared to the
And
other three
they're
that
all
I've
going to be
mentioned.
different, and like things like Guys Will Be Guys, which is not an episode that you would expect to be that deeply moving. And yet you found material in there when
Those
you
are
reached in and pulled your soul out that was really resonant.
Well, in that case, I was relating to something someone else was going to, but those those are probably my favorite videos to find,
Hmm.
and they're always a find. Is when you find something, the ones that are massive that you put a ton of pressure on yourself down the line. Once more with feeling, conversations with dead people,
Hmm.
so forth. It's like there's a certain level that you're already aspiring to. My favorite experience is to find something meaningful to myself with one of those episodes where you don't have any expectations of it.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, we should move on to the next
Well,
thing.
let's move to the next question.
Thank you for the
Um,
question, CTE
yes.
Girl 892.
ACC on Patreon asks, what opinion or understanding do you hold about this series, which has changed the most as a result of one, your research into the episodes, and two, your interactions with the fans?
Uh, well, fan interaction is season 6 is going to be interesting because that's the divisive one, and that's one that I really enjoy. By and large, I think if I made a list of my favorite episodes, they would be pretty predictable.
Mhm.
I'm very vanilla when it comes to that. There's one or two exceptions. I love Double Meat Palace,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But like 90% of the time, writing about the episodes elevates my experience of them. Um, you know, episodes that, especially with episodes that didn't grab me at first, I I want to love the thing.
Mhm.
I want to love the thing. And so when you dig into an episode and you start thinking about, well, what was intended and what are the themes and what does this mean and all of that, then you find that connection that maybe didn't happen immediately, and suddenly like there's another chance to fall in love with the story.
Mhm.
And that has happened to me so many times. The breakthrough episode for me and the channel is I Only Have Eyes for You, Guys Will Be Guys, The Prodigal, Somnambulist. There's so many, Angel especially, but
Mhm.
Angel more so than Buffy, I would say. But you know, that happens way more often than the opposite, which is um episodes I liked a little bit less. The only one I can think of is Hush,
Mhm.
which is a more of an exercise in style
Yeah.
than it is in theme or character or whatever. There are nice moments of character. I'm not saying it's devoid of anything, but compared to The Gift or even the other artistic departure episodes like Once More with Feeling and all of that, like, Hush is fun.
Wow. Okay.
So
Well, that we're going to be getting comments on. Um,
I did on
Trev,
the Hush video.
right. Trev Peeps on Patreon asks, what would have been the better series finale? The Gift, which was sad due to Buffy dying, but it really wraps up the first 5 seasons in a nice way, or Chosen?
Uh, I mean, the simple answer to that question is which is a better episode? Um, they're both closing something. Season 5 is the end of the original adolescence allegory. 6 and 7 are adulthood, and 7 wraps up the show. To me, it's not really a contest. The Gift is a much better episode than Chosen, so that's one way to look at it. But I always feel like the subtext of that question is, do I wish the show had ended with The Gift? And because season 6 is my favorite season of the show, all of its flaws included. Um, and I don't think that season 7 is the worst episode of the show.
Mhm.
No, I don't. I love The Gift, but I'm happy that we got 2 more seasons out of it. Especially, I think season 6 is more and more relevant now than it ever has been before. So if you're, we got some comments on the Gift that said, I don't know if I'm going to follow along because I didn't really enjoy the later seasons of the show. I hope you give me a chance to go digging for stuff that you're going to enjoy because I think there's a ton to celebrate in those 2 seasons.
Yeah, there's lots of good stuff there. And I can definitely see there being a pivot point because it is a different show. Six
It's a
and
different
seven is just a
show.
different show. But I love them both. And so hopefully everybody watching does too. All right, so that's it for our Q&A. I did want to talk a little bit about where all these questions are coming from. They're coming from our Patreon supporters and from our YouTube membership supporters. So if you'd like to be able to ask Ian questions, we're going to be doing these coffee videos about once a month. Um, if you want Ian to answer your questions, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/passionate. Is it passionate the nerd or the passionate the nerd? As the producer, I feel like that's something I should know.
Links are in the description of this video
Links are in the
and
description, so it's
and
irrelevant.
pop
Don't listen to what I say.
popping up in the top right corner
Just
right
find
now.
the links in there. Yes. And YouTube membership will be right here on the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to grab it there. The benefits right now, though we will be adding more soon, we're going to be going through and kind of buffing all this stuff up. You can ask questions for the Q&A and get them answered.
Buffing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mean it. I said it, and then I was like, there we go. It's
I'm
on
really
theme.
easy.
I know. That's what I love about you. Participation in the biweekly Buffyverse Patreon hangout. So the YouTube channel, YouTube membership has a $5 tier as well as Patreon has a $5 tier. And anybody who is subscribing at either one of those places can actually participate and be part of the group talking about the particular episode that week. There's also a handful of audio commentary tracks and various other bits of content that are available, including me and Ian talking about a various. We've done a few of those. We
Yeah,
did a
we
few of those
did
back in the day.
When Harry met Sally,
We did
we
Arrival,
did
right?
Arrival, and we did
Mhm.
Passengers.
Oh, Passengers. So interesting. So all of that content is available through there. Definitely, if you enjoy seeing these videos come out more often, the more support we get, the more we can put into that endeavor and getting these videos out more frequently for you. All right. So the next is the big question, the thing that has been on everybody's mind ever since the announcement. We've had a number of questions on the YouTube channel about this, and Ian didn't answer them before this because this is the moment to talk about it. This
Well,
Buffy revival.
that's partially true. The real answer is, well, we'll get into it in a minute. I'm gonna read the blurb here
Yeah.
real quick for those who may not be in the know. According to People and EW.com, as of February 25th, as excuse me, as of February 2025, a revival of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is in development at Hulu. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who played Buffy Summers in the original series, has confirmed her involvement as both an executive producer and in a recurring on-screen role. The revival will introduce a new Slayer as the central character, with Geller's Buffy serving in a mentorship capacity. Oscar winning director Chloe Zhao is set to direct the pilot, while Nora and Lila Zuckerman, Lila? Yes, will serve as writers and executive producers. They were both writer producers on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Poker Face. No involvement from Joss Whedon for obvious reasons. And the series is going to be exploring new narratives within the Buffyverse. Uh, so this is not this is year 11 of the channel. This is not the first time I've heard revival rumors. I think the two things that make this one stand out are for better or and worse. For better, Sarah is involved and confirmed, and that's huge. For worse, to me, and I hear Bo Burnham's inside. I hear Daddy made you some content. The distinction between content and everything else. We're in a content age right now, a content rush. Everything is getting made. So that I think that makes this, on the surface of things, a more exciting rumor because clearly it's much more likely to happen. Would you say that's accurate?
I mean, reading the tea leaves, I have absolutely no idea. I have a lot of my own thoughts about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have found most reboots to be a disappointment at some point or another. But, there's definitely with Sarah's involvement, I think that that's a really cool, addition to this particular project. And I think having people like, people who worked on Agents of Shield, which Ian and I have been recently having a discussion about what it is that makes people come back to Buffy, and the elements of Buffy that in this conversation we were thinking that really pull people back in, I think are also were there in Agents of Shield, which is another favorite show of mine. And I find that really an interesting kind of idea.
That's what we're watching next. We
Yeah.
were watching a different show and decided we're not enjoying it, so we're
So
picking
now we're
something.
going to do
Anyway,
Agents of
cut that.
Shield and see if Ian can confirm for me if he agrees with me with this element
Yeah.
that's missing. But anyway, so tell me why you might be like you're excited that it could happen, but what are your reservations about this revival happening?
Uh, well, you mentioned one of the first ones. So I'm a weathered Star Trek fan. I was talking with Josh about the way I am about food. The way I am about food is I go to a restaurant, I find one thing I like, and then I only order that thing and every time I go there from that point forward. There's a breakfast place that I've been going through to since I was a fetus, and I have only ever had the French toast. And people ask like, "Oh, is the Village Coffee Shop good?" I don't know, but the French toast is great. you
Village
know,
Coffee Shop, Boulder, Colorado. If you're ever
yeah,
in town, go check it out. It is
yeah,
the best. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I've realized I'm not sure I can call myself a Star Trek fan anymore. I'm definitely a Star Trek The Next Generation fan, and I love the Star Trek movies. But every successive piece, I've never watched DS9. I watched Voyager. It was okay. And then it feels like for the last couple of years they've been pumping stuff out. Discovery, Lower Decks, Picard. There's a new show that I've heard is not awesome. And that's what I'm talking about, the age of content. Maybe something good comes of it, but the unfortunately, I am the guy who fell in love with Star Trek The Next Generation, which is why I struggled to get into Deep Space Nine because it's not my crew. Where's Daddy Picard? Where's Data? You know, all of that. And I'm not saying that's a way to be, but that just happens to be the way that I am with that show. You know, I think I used to like Star Wars. I wouldn't say that I do anymore because what is Star Wars anymore? Is it the original three movies?
That's
Is
why
it
you
the
never
three
mess
movies?
with anything once it's out there. Once
Right.
it's published, it's done.
Is it the three
Anyway, that
movies
is a whole
plus
other discussion.
plus the prequels? Is Star Wars all the shows? Like, what is it to say I'm a Star Wars fan
Hmm.
anymore? Um, and you mentioned that there have been a handful of revivals, examples of revivals working. The one that occurs to me I've heard is if you're a Twin Peaks fan, the Twin Peaks revival is supposedly really good. Um, do we is can we think of another?
Is there another example? I mean, like the X-Files. I
I
didn't even
heard
watch
those weren't
it
very
because
good.
I had loved the X-Files up until season 7, which is when it stopped for me. As
I
people have there the gift, they stop at the
surprisingly
gift.
I
Yeah,
didn't hate the dog ears, but is there
yeah. But
parks?
yeah, I don't know. Like there's revivals and things that kind of come back. And Sex and the City has had a recent, another run with the second show that they've been doing. I also didn't watch that. I avoid them because I think most of the time the response is disappointment. Because even if what they're doing is good, like
Right,
even if what they do is well done and it's very cool, if I'm coming at it to get a specific thing that I got out of the first one. Like it's not going to be
right,
that. It's going to be something different. And so almost no matter what, even when they're good, on some level they're going to be a disappointment. And so like if I go into Buffy expecting it to do the very specific things that like only Buffy did and maybe Marvel Agents of Shield did a little, out of everything that I've seen, out of every TV show I've seen, which I've seen almost all of them, right? Between us, we've seen almost all of them. It just feels like it's a big mountain to climb. Now, do I love that it is women behind the wheel on this revival? Yes, 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 I do. I love that. Will I watch it? Absolutely. We're obviously going to watch this together. But I think that there's a reason why you kind of would have a hesitation about it.
yeah. By the way, leave a comment down below. Please, if there's a revival, a recent revival that has come along that you love.
Hmm.
Because I think I think I originally had something else in mind besides Twin Peaks, but then for me, there's revivals, sequels, extra seasons. I didn't really love the last season of Parks and Recreation. I didn't love the last season of Arrested Development.
Hmm.
I didn't really love the Avatar: The Last Airbender
Hmm.
reboot that watched. The key that you mentioned is just expectations.
Yeah.
Um,
Expectations are the thief of joy, right? If you
right,
go in expecting it to be what it was, it shouldn't be that. That was done and done. Like that's over. But, for Buffy to live up to like the incredible precedent that the show has set, I think it's a huge thing to step into. And I have nothing but incredible respect for the creators on this. I wish them the best of luck. I will be making a video soon on my YouTube channel about what the magic in the bottle was that Buffy caught and how that worked, and seeing if I can tease out exactly what that is.
and what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Oh, it's at Lonnie Diane Rich on YouTube. You guys can find me there
There you
that
go.
way.
Well, yeah, one of my hopes is that, I say I'm a huge Star Trek The Next Generation fan. My dad was a huge Star Trek fan. Not everything needs to be made for me. I don't
Yeah,
need,
it
I
doesn't.
don't, I can exercise my choice to say, I'm good. Just running through. So you asked me, fears and concerns. Buffy's a weird show. It is, it's just weird. If you're swimming in the fandom, you may not feel that way, but it's a weird show and it's a hard sell.
Hmm.
It is derivative, it is tropey, and it is unlike anything else.
It
uh,
is. And the thing is
Somehow.
that no matter what happens, no matter what happened in the comic books, no matter what happens with this, nothing is ever going to take away the original show. Like
Right.
nothing is ever going to take that away. That's never going to disappear. So I think sometimes people get upset when there are adaptations or when there's, a revival or when there's something new that somehow it's going to reach back in time and undo the magic of the original. And that's just not possible. Like you're
No,
always
no.
going to have that.
Yeah, I'm just saying
I'm not
there's
talking
that.
to you. I know that's not how you
Oh,
feel, but like
oh,
a lot
oh,
of
yeah.
people in the fan, I'm anticipating a lot of the things that happen and a lot of the things that I've heard on the work that I've discussed, where people get very upset about like an adaptation or something new or something coming in that it just somehow will break the original. And it never
Oh,
does. The
yeah.
original
Yeah.
always
No.
continues to exist, will always
Um,
be available for you.
and the other weird thing about it is that every single episode was so theme driven.
Hmm.
The what is the metaphor? What is the subtext? And that is the juice that powers the video series that I'm making.
Hmm.
And why I think there will always be podcasts and reaction channels and all of that, like diving into, because there's so much there. But it's also weird that that whole Venn diagram of stuff works.
Hmm.
When I think about theme driven, every single episode being, this is the loneliness monster, this is the abuse monster, this is the horniness monster in phases, like the what comes to mind that does stuff like that are Saturday morning cartoons.
Hmm.
What did we all learn today? Today we Captain Planet. Today we learned that, and Buffy doesn't feel like that.
Hmm.
It is so weird, such a weird show, that I think it's going to be a mistake to hope to replicate that or to have that experience. I hope that it feels completely different. I hope that
Yes. Hmm.
it is something new,
Hmm.
if it's anything, which is, but even then, the last weird thing that I was concerned about is, where do you pick it up? You pick it up from the end of Chosen when all the potentials have been activated in the world. That's a tough jumping off point for people who've never watched the show. Do you pick it
Yeah,
up
I
from
don't
the
think you
com?
can. I mean, Buffy's
Yeah.
going to be in her 40s, right? So Buffy's going to be the new Giles. And there's
So
going to
do you
be
pretend Chosen didn't happen?
no, you have all the potentials. You have all the potentials. They may pick it up. They may, keep in canon what happened in the comic books. So that is definitely a possibility. I think that
Space baby.
there are a lot of opportunities, but if Buffy comes back and nobody else does, we don't have Willow, if we don't have Xander, if we don't have, Dawn, all of those things, I think that that may feel a little weird to have Buffy there by herself. But then again, the existence of the Slayer has always been isolation. So if you're pursuing themes like that, there's definitely interesting places to go with it. I mean, I think that overall, like, I'd rather see it happen than not, right? If it
I'm
happens
glad
and
it's
it
a
fails,
hundred percent.
okay,
A
then
hundred percent.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
take a swing. I'm all for swings. Take a
Absolutely.
swing. I love, and that's why I want to switch to, like, the reasons I'm hopeful is because I freaking love Buffy. Like, I
Hmm.
love the show. Expectations aside, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if it were amazing?
If it were really
Like,
good, yeah.
yeah, like because I'm not someone who believes that uh content soils the I think we like the Star Wars thing is unique in that the originals changed, but like I can still go watch Star Trek The Next Generation.
Hmm. Yeah,
All the new
exactly.
content that has come along that is not for me, and I'm all for that, has nothing to do with my experience of the show. So
Right.
I'm
It's
all
either
for
going to
big
be
swings.
additive or you're not going to engage, right?
Yeah.
So, like, no matter what, you don't lose. And
And
there
the
may be
the
other people who come to it because of the new show. They may come back to the original, which would be amazing. Maybe they'll do an actual decent HD remaster,
yes.
if there's enough interest. So there's definitely all sorts of potential for this to be wonderful. Yeah.
well, and the last thing that I'm hopeful for, and I don't want to. It's tricky because I don't want to get too much into it. But being a fan of the show has become a little bit complicated in the past couple of years
Yeah.
because of its creator.
Hmm.
So when it comes to issues of art versus the artist, if you decide to maintain your relationship with the art that you've loved and cherished, there's still some math involved. And Lonnie and I have experienced that math whenever we watch uh The Gift
Hmm.
or um Once More with Feeling, or you go to there are pieces of art that can no longer consume. I can no longer touch. I've made the choice with Buffy that that is not going to be the case. That I will continue um, to engage with this piece, but that does involve finishing an episode, being moved, engrossed, elevated, having that experience of, oh my God, feeling, seeing things differently, whatever it may be, and followed by that moment of, God damn it.
Yeah. It is. It's really difficult. But again, two things can be true at once.
Right.
You
And
know, people can, yeah.
I choose to do that. That
Hmm.
math is worth um
It's worth it.
continuing to engage with this thing that means so much to me and the community
Hmm.
that I am a part of. But the thing that in the back of my mind is a little bit exciting about this is one thing is when Next Generation aired and when DS9 aired, what you heard over and over again was Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. George Lucas made A New Hope, and whatever. And with all of the creations beyond, there's a chance to reclaim
Hmm.
these things. There's a chance for them to move to more and more become ours or the product of many voices,
Yes.
rather than this one singular individual who, in this particular case, has become a frustrating, or always was a frustrating individual to associate with the work, you
Yeah,
know?
it's complicated and it's messy, and people are going to have complicated feelings about it. And some people are not
Every,
going to be able to engage with it, which I completely
yeah,
understand. But my decision in the end is that this work means something to me, and a lot of people worked on it, which actually brings us to our next question that a YouTube member asked about the reboot. Nicodare9502 asks, what writers, producers do you hope they bring back for the reboot?
I mean, kind of in the realm of what first of all, this is, I think all of those people have gone on to do amazing
Mhm.
things. Um, so who knows if they want to, but kind of in the realm of the seeking new voices and wanting this to be something new and finding a new angle and sort of shifting the prism. I kind of hope that they don't. That it's we just get new voices on the project. So that's my answer. What is yours?
Noxon Petrie Espenson. Bring him back.
Also a good answer.
All right. Well, this has been a nice long discussion. We had lots of stuff to get to. Hopefully the upcoming coffee videos won't have quite as much terrain to cover, so they should go by a bit
Well, who
faster.
knows? They
It
might have.
depends.
Yeah.
It might end up just being an hour-long podcast with you and me talking about stuff. All right. So, what is coming next at Passion of the Nerd? We got Weight of the World done. We got The Gift done. We got the season one super edit where you can watch all of season one in one big video. Next up on the docket are the Pylea video, which is, of course, the last four episodes of season two of Angel. So Ian and Josh are working on that right now. We've got Bargaining one and two, so the beginning of season six of Buffy. That will be one video. So there's also going to be another heavy lift, and then we're going to get into regular, everyday, pedestrian, episode by episode content. We're going to come in with Angel season three, episode one, Heartthrob, and episode two, that vision thing, two separate videos that we're going to do back to back so that we can get caught up and get kind of like, in the airing
Yeah,
cycle.
stay in sync with an episode of Buffy, an episode of Angel. And we're doing one episode for bargaining because that's how it aired. It's one
Hmm.
big story. It's different than
And it is one story.
it
Yeah.
is it's one big story.
Hmm.
And then after that, the order is going to be Buffy, Angel, Firefly. The Firefly guides are coming back. I'm just going to pick them up where we left off.
Hmm.
Originally, those were co-written. Those for now are just going to be me. And once Firefly is done, there will be other things to take its place. So there will always be a rotation of Buffy, Angel, and something.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I think
I think
that might be
that's
it.
I think
Would
that's
be
about it. Yeah.
also in addition to the sort of the learning curve of this and demon confronting that has had to occur as we talked about in the intro, I also got COVID for the first
Yeah.
time, which ate a
During the
couple of
gift.
during the gift, which ate a
Yeah.
couple of weeks out of that schedule, and I haven't quit my other job.
Right.
So
That's still the full-time job.
I still have the full-time job. So we are not prepared as of yet to start putting dates on all of these.
Hmm.
We have our ambitions for them, but I think last year between without Lani on board, we managed to publish 3, 4 videos the
Hmm.
entire year, maybe 5. I think it was less than that. We've almost beat that already, and we're 2 months into the year. So, however, this is going to go, I think it's going to be a lot better and more regular than it has
Hmm.
been. And at some point, if ever, um, I'm back to one job, maybe we'll be more willing to start putting specific dates on these things,
And
but probably not
yeah.
until then.
Yeah, the goal is eventually to be able to get a video out every 2 weeks. That will
Yeah.
not be possible during the heavy lift times. But if you would like to see that, the best way that you can make that happen is by throwing enough Patreon support and YouTube memberships at Passion of the Nerd so that Ian can quit his full-time job and work
Again.
from home again. That's the goal. The goal is it's all about like we should have a stretch goal on Patreon for bring Ian home. And then at that point, we will be able to do this full time and get these videos out. But regardless, I anticipate I have a schedule, and we're going to be moving on that schedule. I know it makes Ian nervous every time I say that, but I anticipate we're gonna get there pretty quickly,
Well,
pretty soon.
and one thing just to be clear, we never want anyone to donate if it ever causes you hardship.
Yeah, no,
Understand
of
that
course not.
just
Hmm.
watching the videos is support. I'm grateful for that I'm able to do this. I'm grateful that I can make things about other things and people
Hmm.
want to listen to me flap my gums about it. I'm this is weird. As weird as Buffy is, this is really weird that this is a thing. So
Making
I'm
content
grateful.
about content, yeah.
Yes. And Lonnie, I'm grateful for you. I'm excited to see where things go. Um, I think that's all that I've
I think
got.
that's it. Yeah, absolutely. That covers everything. So thank you so much, everyone, for all of your support. And we will see you back here in the near future with the Pylea video. So,
Bye.
bye.